Now we're going to look at equations of linear graphs. First of all, it is very important that you know the formula or the equation of a line, which is y is equal to mx plus c, where m is the gradient and c is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept essentially means the point on the line where it crosses the y-axis, essentially. And the gradient can be either positive or negative. So a way that you can tell on a graph whether your gradient is positive or negative is essentially the way it slopes. So if the line of a graph goes upwards like that, that tells you that your gradient is going to be positive. But if it goes downwards, then that means that your gradient is going to be negative. Okay, let's look at this one here. So a line has the equation of 2y plus 6 is equal to 4x. Work out the gradient and the y-intercept of the line. So we have 2y plus 6 is equal to 4x. Remember, we need to get it in the format of y is equal to mx plus c. So the x is already to that side, a 4x is there. Let's first try and get rid of this 6 on the left hand side so that we can keep all the y's to one side. So if we want to eliminate the 6 from the left hand side, we subtract 6 from both sides. So we get 2y is equal to 4x minus 6. Okay. But we want to know what y is. We don't want to know what 2y is. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by 2. So by dividing both sides by 2, we're essentially going to divide the 4x by 2 and the negative 6 by 2. So we get 2x minus 3. Okay, so now we put it in the format of y is equal to mx plus c. This 2 is our gradient, and the negative 3 is our y-intercept. And that is it. Okay, let's look at this one here. So a line passes through the points 1, 2 and 4, minus 7. Work out the equation of the line. So one thing we need to remember is the formula on how to work out the gradient of a line. So I like to say the gradient, well, the gradient is essentially the change in y over change in x. But I like to write it as y2 minus y1, or y1 minus y2, doesn't really matter, and x2 minus x1, where, so let's say this is, so the 1 up here is our x1, this is going to be our y1, this is x2, and this is y2. So y2 is minus 7. Whenever I have like a negative number, I like to put it in brackets. And then y1 is 2. x2 is 4. And x1 is 1. So negative 7 minus 2, so that's negative 9. 4 minus 1, which is 3. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3, so that is our gradient. So then we put it back into the equation of a line, which is y is equal to mx plus c, but we know what our m is, which is negative 3. plus c. So now we need to work out what our c is. What we can do is that because the line passes through these two coordinates here, we can substitute one of these coordinates into this equation here. So let's use 1 and 2. So our x coordinates is 1 and our y coordinate is 2. So we just sub that in. So 2 is equal to negative 3 times by 1 plus c. Negative 3 times by 1 is negative 3 plus c is equal to 2. If we want to make c the subject, we need to add 3 on both sides to eliminate that negative 3. So essentially we get 5 is equal to c. Therefore, our equation of the line is going to be y is equal to minus 3x plus 5. And that is it. Okay, now let's look at parallel lines. So parallel lines are lines that will never interact or touch with each other. The lines can go on forever and they will essentially never meet. When it comes to equations of a line, to tell whether two lines are parallel to each other, the gradients are always the same. So for instance, if you have a line of y is equal to 2x plus 7, a line that is parallel to this equation would be y is equal to 2x plus, let's say, 33, for instance. These two lines are parallel to each other because the gradients are the same. As long as the gradients are the same, it doesn't matter what number the c is, it can be any number. We know that those two lines are never going to touch, so therefore they are parallel. So let's look at this one here. The equation of a line is given as y is equal to 3x plus 2. Write the equation of a line parallel to this one that passes through the point 0, minus 4. So remember that if two lines are parallel to each other, they have the same gradient. So the gradient of the other line is going to be 3x, well 3. So we've got that 3x plus c. So now it tells us that it passes through the point 0, negative 4. So what we can do here is essentially substitute our 0 and negative 4 in. So negative 4 is our y coordinate, so y, negative 4. 3, our x coordinate is 0, and then plus c. 3 times by 0 is 0, so minus 4 is equal to c. So our equation of this line is going to be y is equal to 3x minus 4. Explain why these two lines are parallel. Gradients are the same. Lovely. So, if two lines are perpendicular, it means that they intersect at right angles. So they make 90 degrees essentially with each other. The gradients of two perpendicular lines are negative reciprocals of each other. Perpendicular gradients multiply to give negative 1. So what does that mean? So for instance, if we have an equation of a line, let's say y is equal to 2x plus 4, a line that is perpendicular to that would be the negative reciprocal. First of all, reciprocal means we flip. So the gradient here of this one is 2. So if we were to flip this 2, we'd get a half. So 2 is the same thing as saying 2 over 1. When we find the reciprocal of it, the 2 at the top goes to the bottom, and the 1 at the bottom goes to the top. So we get a half. However, this is a negative reciprocal. So the negative reciprocal of 2 would actually be minus a half. And then to further prove that they are perpendicular to each other, the two gradients, if we multiply the 2 times by negative a half, we should get minus 1. So 2 is the same thing as 2 over 1. Positive times by negative makes a negative. 2 times by 1 is 2. And 1 times by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we get negative 1. So that's essentially a way to prove that two lines are perpendicular to each other, as their gradients are multiply each other to make negative 1. Okay, let's look at this one right here. So the equation of a line is y is equal to 2x. Write down the equation of a line perpendicular to this one that passes through the point 0, 1. So y is equal to 2x plus 3. Lines that are perpendicular to each other, the gradients are the negative reciprocal. So if the gradient of this one is 2, the negative reciprocal is going to be minus a half, and it passes through 0, 1. So first of all, we have y is equal to minus a half x plus c. We can sub in our coordinates where x is 0 and our y is 1. So 1 is equal to minus a half times by 0 plus c. 0 times by a half, or by any number, is essentially 0. So 1 is equal to c. Therefore, the equation of this line is going to be y is equal to minus a half x plus 1. Beautiful. Okay, let's look at this one here. So, the equations of a line is y is equal to minus a third x plus 4. Write the equation of a line perpendicular to this one that passes through the point 3, 2. First of all, let's write that y is equal to negative a third x plus 4. Perpendicular lines are negative reciprocals of each other, so you have negative a third, or another way to prove it is that both of the numbers have to multiply to give negative 1. The reciprocal of a third is 3, but because both of these numbers have to multiply to make negative 1, that means that our gradient of the other perpendicular line is actually going to be positive 3, because if you times those two together, you get negative 1. So y is equal to 3x plus c. Now we need to work out what our c is. So using those coordinates 3, 2, 3 is our x, 2 is our y. So we have 2 is equal to 3 times by 3 plus c. 3 times by 3 is 9, so 2 is equal to 9 plus c. In order to eliminate that 9 so that we can work out what c is equal to, we subtract 9 from both sides. 2 minus 9 is negative 7. That's equal to c. Therefore, our final answer is going to be y is equal to 3x minus 7. Lovely. So now we've got this one. So the equation of a line is given in the form of 4x plus 2y is equal to 8. So part A tells us to rewrite this equation in the form of y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, let's do it. So 4x plus 2y is equal to 8. If we want to put in that format, we need to keep the y's to the left hand side and put everything else to the right hand side. So let's try and eliminate this 4x. If we want to eliminate the 4x, we have to subtract both sides by 4x. So we get 2y is equal to negative 4x plus 8. But we want to get y. We don't want to know what 2y is. So to eliminate that 2, we need to divide both sides by 2. And when we divide both sides by 2, we're doing negative 4x divided by 2 and 8 divided by 2. So we get negative 2x plus 4. Okay, lovely. Negative 2x plus 4. Okay, let's write that answer down first before I forget. So part B says to find the equation of a line perpendicular to the one above that passes through the points 2, 3. Okay, if two lines are perpendicular to each other, that means that they are the negative reciprocal of each other. The negative reciprocal of negative 2, so negative 2 is the gradient of this one, is a half. Because if you did a half times by negative 2, we get negative 1. Lovely. So now we can rewrite it as y is equal to half x plus c. But we need to work out what this c is. So we can use the coordinates that this line passes through, which is 2, 3. Our 3 is our y, and our 2 is our x, plus c. A half times by 2, so half of 2 is 1. So 3 is equal to 1 plus c. To eliminate that 1 and get what c is, we subtract both sides by 1. 3 subtract 1 is 2, so 2 is equal to c. So we can write as y is equal to half x plus 2. Lovely.